On a quiet, late autumn night in 2003, the serene calm of a small residential neighborhood in Liaoyang, Liaoning Province, China, was shattered by two chilling gunshots piercing the darkness. In front of an aging apartment building, a man collapsed, blood pooling across the cold stone steps. The gruesome scene didn't just stun the local residents. It unraveled a shocking case tied to wealthy entrepreneurs and ruthless underworld forces driven by calculated malice. From the image of a celebrated businessman once revered for his vast fortune, the story spirals into a tragedy of power and decay, steeped in dark secrets of greed, vengeance, and betrayed alliances. It began as a baffling puzzle, no murder weapon in sight, no clear motive uncovered. But as the veil of mystery lifted, it revealed a terrifying descent of a man once hailed as a symbol of success in China's era of reform. And you're watching True Crime in the World, where we dive into the most enigmatic cases and gripping stories. As always, before we unravel today's case, drop a like, hit subscribe, and support our channel. Thank you so much. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, China was riding a wave of explosive economic growth. The first wave of entrepreneurs emerged as icons of the rags-to-riches dream. Liaoyang, an industrial city in the northeast, once thriving on abundant resources, was swept up in this turbulent tide. State-owned factories crumbled, unemployment soared, and the city's social order grew increasingly volatile. Amid this chaos, ambitious young men seized opportunities to rise fast, but often their wealth outpaced the law's reach. Organized crime syndicates, rampant corruption, and tangled ties between businessmen and officials became an open secret no one dared speak aloud. The neighborhood where today's crime unfolded was a quiet enclave home to retired workers living simple, discreet lives. No one could have imagined weapons or assassins infiltrating their community. So when two shots rang out in the dead of night, residents froze. Some mistook the sound for furniture being smashed, but then a child's piercing wail shattered the silence. From an upstairs apartment, a woman jolted awake, urging her daughter to check downstairs. The young girl crept into the dark hallway, only to erupt in sobs. Her mother rushed after her, stopping dead at the sight. Her husband lay motionless at the threshold, blood soaking the tiles and spilling down the steps. At the same moment, neighbors alerted by the blasts flung open their doors. Under the dim, flickering hallway light, they gathered around the sprawled figure. No one dared attempt first aid. Every sign screamed he was already gone. Small, deep circular wounds punctured his chest and abdomen, evidence of close-range gunfire. Someone dialed the police. Within minutes, sirens wailed and squad cars tore through the night. The scene was immediately cordoned off. The middle-aged man lay with eyes wide open, no weapon or signs of a struggle nearby. Nothing was stolen, ruling out robbery. Forensic experts confirmed the cause of death: 2 bullets to the chest and abdomen fired at point-blank range. Yet no shell casings were found. The killer likely cleaned up or used a weapon like a shotgun that left no casings behind. Metal fragments embedded in the victim's body pointed to buckshot common in double-barreled firearms. One detail gripped investigators: the victim collapsed right at his doorstep. The front door stood ajar, as if he'd just inserted his key when ambushed. The shots came from straight-ahead level, with his chest suggesting the killer hid close, perhaps right by the entrance, waiting for his return. The precision hinted at surveillance, a predator stalking its prey, striking with ruthless efficiency before vanishing. The clean execution, devoid of traces, led police to suspect a planned assassination by someone seasoned. Portable floodlights soon bathed the scene in stark white. The victim lay across the threshold, head facing outward, feet still inside, as if mere seconds from safety. One bullet had grazed the wooden door, leaving a small hole and splintered frame-proof. The killer fired from nearly point-blank range. The lead officer couldn't shake the chill down his spine. This was no impulsive act. This was a meticulously calculated hit. From the scene, task forces fanned out, hunting for clues in the lingering stench of gunpowder. The murder weapon was gone. A narrow alley in front of the building led to a main road perfect for a swift escape. Witnesses reported seeing two shadowy figures hop into a car and speed off moments after the shots. It all unfolded in mere seconds, a hallmark of a professional's precision. The incident sent shockwaves through Liaoyang. In a city of modest size, no one expected a crime straight out of a detective novel or action flick. But this was no fiction. It was a raw, cold, haunting reality. As police combed the crime scene, they found identification in the victim's wallet. The name stood out starkly: Wang Xing, nearly 40, born in Liaoyang province, now a freelancer. The details, seemingly mundane, sent shockwaves through the Liaoyang investigators. Wang Xing was no stranger. He was one of their own. Once a police captain and head of the city's serious crimes unit, he had left the force in 1992 to pursue business. The murder of a seasoned former detective gunned down at his doorstep left the team reeling. From the first clues, investigators pegged it as a targeted assassination. The ambush, the swift strike with a homemade shotgun, every detail screamed professional planning. Some officers who knew Wang Xing from his policing days whispered theories. Could an old enemy from his past have hunted him down? Or was this fallout from shady business dealings after leaving the force? The more they pondered, the murkier the picture grew. A man who cracked major cases, who knew criminals' tricks inside out. How could he fall into a trap so easily? New questions swirled. Who was Wang Xing really? Why was he marked for death? Personnel records painted him as a standout officer racking up accolades during his tenure. His abrupt exit from the force to chase business ventures was rare for the time. After leaving, Wang Xing dabbled in various trades, running a private detective agency, trading stocks, even traveling to Russia to deal in electronics. By the time of his death, he managed a small hotel in Liaoyang, a modest, almost unstable life, far from his once glorious past. The investigation hit early roadblocks. Wang Xing had been out of the force for over a decade, and few old contacts stayed in touch. His family, wife, mother, and a stepchild were devastated, collapsing under questioning. They revealed he'd been anxious lately, fielding strange calls, sometimes menacing male voices, sometimes debt collectors. Yet they didn't know what trouble he was in. Digging deeper, police learned Wang Xing had invested in businesses that failed, leaving him in debt. But a simple debt didn't justify a cold-blooded execution at his doorstep. Something darker loomed behind it. The biggest break came when investigators searched Wang Xing's apartment. Amid a clutter of papers, they uncovered handwritten letters and draft complaints addressed to the police. The contents stunned the team. Signed by Wang Xing himself, the documents detailed his involvement in a years-old plot tied to a wealthy businessman named Yuan Baojing. According to the accusations, Yuan had hired Wang Xing to orchestrate an attack on another entrepreneur in Sichuan province. Yuan Baojing's name appeared repeatedly, and it rang alarm bells. If this was the same man, he was a Beijing billionaire, originally from Liaoyang, lauded in the media for a fortune worth billions of USD. Investigators immediately probed the link between Wang Xing and Yuan Baojing. Initial findings confirmed that in the mid-1990s, Wang Xing worked for a private investment firm in Beijing, one closely tied to Jianhao Group, run by Yuan Baojing. A theory took shape. Had they been business partners? Did Wang Xing carry out a job for Yuan, only to later threaten to expose it for personal gain? If so, this wasn't just a personal grudge. It was a web of money power and secrets too dangerous to surface. The case grew more gripping with the next revelation. Task Force 405, a Ministry of Public Security unit handling organized crime, confirmed receiving letters from Wang Xing years earlier. In them, he directly accused Yuan Baojing of hiring him in 1997 to attack Liu Han, a prominent Sichuan businessman. Wang Xing claimed he was paid $140,000 CNY, approximately $19,600 USD, to organize the hit, but the plan failed. The target escaped unharmed, and the perpetrator vanished. After submitting the complaint, Wang Xing stopped contact, and the case was shelved. But with Wang Xing's murder, the ministry and Liaoyang investigators revisited related cases. Sure enough, in 1997, a shooting targeting Liu Han, a Sichuan mining tycoon, had occurred, but caused no injuries. The perpetrator was never caught, and the case went cold. Now new evidence pieced it together. Wang Xing had masterminded the failed hit, funded by Yuan Baojing. After years of silence, he may have resurfaced demanding more or threatening to go public. And that could have cost him his life. The victim's true face emerged. A former detective turned shadowy operative, ultimately betrayed by the very ally he once served. Secrets buried in the past, long thought dead, clawed their way back to life, leading to a grim end. Yuan Baojing, once a celebrated titan of business, now loomed in the investigation as far more than a success story. This was no ordinary shooting. It exposed a hidden world of calculated schemes and lethal stakes. Born around 1963, Wang Xing was among the first graduates of the Liaoyang Police Academy after China's economic opening. As a young officer, he stood out sharp, decisive, fearless. Assigned to the city's serious crimes unit, he racked up impressive victories. Yet after 8 years of service in 1992, Wang Xing stunned colleagues by resigning. Whispers spread he was fed up with a meager salary and lured by the era's get-rich-quick fever. Leaving the force marked a sharp turn in Wang Xing's life. Once a respected captain, he dove headfirst into the cutthroat world of business, running an unlicensed detective agency, trading stocks, even dealing electronics and currency in Russia. But the path wasn't paved with gold. His ventures were small profits, thin risks high. Debt piled up. His career teetered, his life unraveled. In his desperation around 1995-1996, Wang Xing met a supposed savior, Yuan Baojing, a young Liaoyang-born businessman making waves in Beijing. Drawn to his compatriot's success, Wang Xing quickly became a trusted ally, a right-hand man. They partnered in financial ventures, with Yuan generously placing Wang Xing in charge of a subsidiary under Jianhao Group. It seemed a win-win. Yuan gained a cunning, daring operative. Wang Xing glimpsed a chance to reclaim his lost status and learn the secrets of wealth. But late in 1996, trouble brewed. Yuan Baojing hit a snag in a critical investment deal. Wang Xing saw an opening. He offered a bold plan: eliminate a rival for $160,000 CNY, roughly $22,400 USDE. The target, Liu Han, a powerful figure in Sichuan's mining industry. The plot unfolded in early 1997, but flopped. Liu Han escaped unharmed. Wang Xing vanished into the shadows. No clear evidence surfaced, but cracks formed in their alliance. Yuan Baojing began distancing himself. Wang Xing, bitter and betrayed, felt cheated. He'd risked everything for Yuan and got nothing in return. Loyalty faded. After leaving Yuan's empire, Wang Xing's life grew shakier. Then he upped the stakes. Letters, phone calls, demands for cash, threats to expose their dirty deal to the authorities. A former cop, Wang Xing, believed he could outmaneuver Yuan, forcing his hand. That confidence, It pushed him to the edge. By 2001, Yuan Baojing's patience ran dry. Despite warnings, even intermediaries sent to silence him, Wang Xing persisted. Anonymous letters piled up demands, escalating to hundreds of thousands of CNY. He threatened to reveal damning proof. To him, it was an all-or-nothing gamble. To Yuan, it was the end of negotiations. A chilling plan took shape. On the night of October 4, 2003, it came to fruition, cold, swift, final. Wang Xing's true portrait now stood clear. A gifted officer turned reckless dreamer, lifted by ambition, tainted by dirty deeds. Both pitiable and culpable, he chased a fortune that never came, trading honor for a dangerous game. The price for his gambit, a brutal bitter end. After uncovering the link between Wang Xing and Yuan Baojing Liaoyang, police escalated the case to provincial authorities, codenaming it 10.4 after the murder date. Given its gravity, a former officer dead, a national tycoon, implicated the Provincial Public Security Bureau, formed a special task force. Elite investigators led by the deputy director converged on Liaoyang. Orders were clear: move fast, stay discreet, prevent leaks. If Yuan Baojing was involved, any slip could let him flee. A rags-to-riches mogul from Liaoyang, Yuan, had built a Beijing empire with vast companies and ties to finance and politics. The task force traced Wang Xing's life post-police, zeroing in on his business dealings, partners, and enemies. They scoured evidence from multiple angles. Tech teams monitored suspect communications. Detectives shadowed Jianhao Group and Yuan's relatives in Beijing and Liaoyang. Wang Xing's letters and draft complaints became pivotal. But to turn suspicion into conviction, they needed more physical evidence, witnesses, a direct link to Yuan. A breakthrough came with a red flag. Yuan's cousins, Yuan Baojing and Yuan Baofu, made suspiciously frequent trips to Liaoyang in 2003, especially near the murder date. Though long settled elsewhere, their vague excuses for returning raised alarms. Weeks after Wang Xing's death, a tip revealed they were rushing to leave China, a sign they might be dodging a major fallout. Tensions within Yuan's family added fuel. On October 26, 2003, Yuan Baojing's brother, clashed violently with a relative identified as Yuan Baoshen over money. Baoshen's injured hand, wrapped in bandages, hinted at a botched deal or a plan gone awry. The task force connected the dots. Not just Yuan Baojing, but his brother and cousins likely played roles in Wang Xing's murder. By November 2003, the moment to strike arrived. After weeks of covert surveillance, detectives learned the prime suspects, Yuan Baoshen and Yuan Baofu, would dine at a restaurant opposite the Diamond nightclub on Wusheng Road, central Liaoyang, on the evening of November 23rd. The task force huddled urgently, plotting a simultaneous takedown. The directive: absolute secrecy, lightning speed, no leaks. If Yuan Baojing, the mastermind, caught wind, he could vanish or leverage connections to stall the case. To protect the operation, even frontline detectives received only physical descriptions of the targets, not names. Every detail was meticulous. By afternoon, 7 unmarked police cars surrounded Da Wanfan restaurant. At 5:30 p.m., a scout confirmed targets are here, second floor. Within 30 minutes, the order came. Teams stormed in, securing the second floor. The arrest took 5 minutes, too fast for resistance. Handcuffed, the suspects' identities were confirmed: Yuan Baoshen, 37, and Yuan Baofu, 34, both Liaoyang natives. They were whisked to a secret location in Gongchangling district for overnight interrogation. The net tightened. That same night, based on initial confessions, a second team raced south, coordinating with Guangxi police. At 1:30 a.m. on November 24th, in a Nanning massage parlor, undercover agents posed as clients to approach Yuan Baojing's brother, hiding out. As he let his guard down, the team pounced, pinning him in the reception room amid stunned staff. Yuan Baojing, caught off guard, was cuffed and escorted out in the dead of night. The final piece, Yuan Baojing himself. By noon on November 24, 2003, with confessions and evidence in hand, a Liaoyang team flew to Beijing. Alongside Beijing police, they stormed Jianhao Group's headquarters in Dongcheng District. At 3:00 p.m., in a sleek office, men in suits entered the chairman's room. Yuan Baojing, 37, was buried in paperwork, oblivious to the trap. When shown the arrest warrant, he froze, face paling, but didn't resist. He grabbed his coat and left his empire in silence. In less than 24 hours, the entire Yuan clan linked to the murder fell into the net. The flawless 10.4 task force operation succeeded. No suspect escaped, no evidence destroyed. Interrogations and evidence collection kicked into high gear. At first, all 4 suspects dodged blame-weaving lies. But faced with Wang Xing's damning documents and the police's mounting proof, one cousin, likely Yuan Baofu, cracked under pressure. He spilled everything. Yuan Baojing had hired Wang Xing to kill Liu Han, but the plan failed. Wang Xing turned blackmailing him. Terrified of exposure, Yuan Baojing and his brother Baosi plotted to silence Wang Xing for good, hiring Bao Shen and Bao Fu to pull the trigger. The confession unveiled chilling details of October 4th. After tailing Wang Xing for days, the killers knew he played late-night mahjong at the Huihuiying Club. Around 11 p.m., as Wang Xing drove home, they masked up and followed. When he stepped from his car, Bao Shen lunged from the shadows, firing 2 close-range shotgun blasts. Wang Xing crumpled instantly. The pair fled, tossing the weapon into a river. Per the confession, Yuan Baojing paid 180,000 CNY, roughly 25,200 USD, part up front, the rest after the job was done. The confession was backed by hard evidence. In January 2004, under freezing skies, a special diving team scoured the Qingzhen Bridge riverbank, where the weapon was allegedly dumped. After hours in the icy Huocheng River, they recovered a sawed-off double-barreled shotgun matching the buckshot in Wang Xing's body. The gun, bought by Bao Shen on the northeast black market, sealed the case. With this smoking gun, the prosecution file was complete. The investigation didn't stop there. Digging into the 1997 failed hit on Liu Han, police found a living witness, Liaoyang, now serving life in Sichuan for another crime. Under questioning, Li confirmed Wang Xing hired him to attack Liu Han, acting on a contract. Though he never met Yuan Baojing, his account matched Wang Xing's letters perfectly. The puzzle snapped together. Yuan Baojing twice hired killers, once failing, once succeeding, building a case for organized murder, gravely serious. By late January 2004, the investigation wrapped. A massive dossier, hundreds of pages thick, landed at the Liaoyang People's Procuratorate. The police pushed to charge Yuan Baojing and his accomplices with intentional homicide. The case marked a triumph for Liaoning's criminal division. Task Force 10.4 members earned accolades. Yet they knew the real battle loomed, facing a defendant with vast, wealth-deep connections and fierce legal defenses. As predicted, the trial sparked a brutal clash between prosecutors and Yuan's legal team, unearthing more sinister secrets. Yuan Baojing, born February 16, 1966, grew up in a poor Liaoyang suburb in a large family of ordinary workers. Third of 5 siblings, his childhood was steeped in hunger and hardship, often relying on relatives. At times, young Yuan was sent to the countryside, studying while toiling in fields for scraps. Those grueling years forged an iron will: escape poverty, rise to the top, no matter the cost. In 1983, Yuan Baojing passed the college entrance exam, but rejected the school he qualified for. He retook the test and in 1985 earned a spot at Beijing's University of Political Science and Law, a top institution. As a student, he shone not just academically, but through sheer grit. He juggled odd jobs, typing envelope, addressing hauling goods on a rickety tricycle. To eat free, he joined the sports team, training relentlessly, his physique rivaling professional athletes. Leisure, he had none. Sharp and driven, Yuan Baojing seized the era's opportunities. Before graduating in 1989, the 23-year-old printed hundreds of resumes, pounding Beijing's corporate and banking doors. His persistence paid off. He landed a securities role at China Construction Bank's Huairu branch, just as China's financial markets bloomed post-reform. 3 years in banking armed him with experience, connections, and know-how for a bigger game. In 1992, at 26, Yuan Baojing founded Jianhao Group in Beijing with just 200,000 CNY, about 28,000 USD. Within 6 months, his firm raked in over 2 million CNY of fortune then. Exploiting China's nascent stock market, Yuan poured cash into stocks and bonds, making bold, almost always winning bets. Profits flooded in. He snapped up companies nationwide. From 1993 to 1994, he acquired stakes in over 60 firms, a pace unheard of among young entrepreneurs. The media crowned him a business genius, the Li Ka-shing of Beijing. By 1996, at 30, his wealth hit 3 billion CNY, roughly 420 million USD. In 1997, he became the first Chinese to win the World Young Entrepreneur Award and the youngest chairman of a listed company in China's stock market. Beyond wealth, Yuan Baojing mastered image. He poured millions of CNY into the Jianhao Scholarship Fund for poor students, charming the public on TV with tales of success. To the world, he embodied the Chinese dream, rising from nothing through brains and hustle. But behind the dazzling mask lurked a calculating, dangerous shadow. The turning point came in late 1996. Jianhao Group bet big on sorghum futures in Chengdu, Sichuan. Yuan expected a windfall, but lost 90 million CNY, about 12.6 million USD, in an uncontrollable price crash. Convinced he'd been sabotaged, Yuan pointed fingers at Liu Han, a Sichuan tycoon, suspecting he rigged the exchange. Burning with rage, Yuan plotted revenge. Enter Wang Xing, the ex-cop turned loyal aide. He volunteered to eliminate Liu Han. Yuan agreed, paying $160,000 CNY, about 22,400 USD. In early 1997, Liaoyang, hired by Wang Xing, ambushed Liu Han at a Guanghan hotel. 2 shots rang out, but Liu Han survived, shielded by his Mercedes' bulletproof glass. Li escaped. Police found no culprit. Unease gripped Yuan Baojing. After the botched hit, Yuan transformed a paranoid ruthless, ready to do anything to protect himself. He ordered Wang Xing to lay low, but the threat lingered. Yuan believed Liu Han's powerful allies saved him, but he took comfort knowing the mastermind remained hidden. Resuming his role as the model tycoon, Yuan expanded Jianhao, polishing his glittering facade. Time didn't dull the threat. In the early 2000s, Wang Xing resurfaced, demanding more money from Yuan Baojing, claiming he'd taken risks for him. Letters piled up. Threats to expose him intensified. Harsh phone calls pressed relentlessly. Yuan Baojing, already stung by past losses, now felt betrayed by his own ally. A dangerous thought took root: if money can't silence him, only death will. The decision to eliminate Wang Xing wasn't instant. Yuan tried leveraging connections, sending goons to intimidate. But Wang Xing pushed too far. A desperate ex-cop's recklessness snapped Yuan's control. A plan took shape in the shadows, pulling in his closest allies, his brother Yuan Baoxi and cousins Yuan Baofu and Yuan Baoshen. They believed Yuan's wealth and power could erase all traces, keeping the law at bay. That belief had precedent. Just a year earlier, Yuan Baojing had bailed Bao Fu out of jail after an assault charge. He saw himself as untouchable, a tycoon cloaked in the red halo of success, wielding the black shadow of underworld deals and hired muscle. But the plot to kill Wang Xing, meant to bury the threat, became the fatal misstep that toppled Yuan's empire. Behind the kingpin, Yuan Baojing, stood a tight-knit web family and accomplices intertwined. First was his elder brother Yuan Baoqi, 3 years older, calm but fiercely loyal. From Jianhao Group's earliest days, Baoqi was Yuan's right hand, handling backroom deals and shadowy connections. When Yuan hatched the plan to deal with Wang Xing, Baoqi was summoned first, orchestrating the hit and scouting killers. The cousins Yuan Baoshan and Yuan Baofu were cut from rougher cloth. Far from the business world, they toiled as laborers, Baoshan in a pottery kiln, Baofu as a skilled blacksmith. Both were no strangers to violence. In 2002, they joined a brawl that left a man gravely injured. Baofu, sentenced to prison, was freed early through Yuan's string pulling. Baoshan fled and laid low. When Baoxi offered a special job murder for cash, they didn't hesitate. It wasn't just a deal. It was a chance to prove loyalty to their powerful cousin, Yuan Baojing. Amid this ruthless trio stood a tragic figure, Zhuoma Yuan Baojing's second wife. A Tibetan dancer and lecturer at Beijing Central University for Nationalities, she was known for her gentle beauty and kind heart. She met Yuan around 1998 after his first marriage ended and he had a child. Despite his tangled past, Zhuoma fell in love, marrying him in 2000 and bearing a son. To her, Yuan was a driven philanthropist, a success story. In the final 2 years before the case broke, she noticed his brooding, his temper, his sleepless nights. But she never imagined the monstrous crimes behind the man she loved. When Yuan was arrested, Zhuoma collapsed. She sobbed uncontrollably at the police station, pleaded with officials, even considered desperate measures to save him. Her image, kneeling in Beijing's snow, weeping amid a media swarm, cast a heartbreaking shadow over a case steeped in violence and greed. After the failed 1997 hit on Liu Han, Yuan Baojing distanced himself from Wang Xing. That same year, Wang clashed with a Jianhao Group subordinate over denied benefits, then quit, severing ties with Yuan's network. To Yuan, cutting Wang loose was strategic, erasing tracks, minimizing leaks. But Wang held a dangerous card. He knew the Liu Han plot inside out. He might have kept letters, the gun, or Liaoyang's testimony. Worse, Wang wasn't one to forget a grudge. By the late 1990s, Wang Xing hit rock bottom back in Liaoyang. Failed ventures, mounting debts, no way out. He turned to Yuan Baojing, knocking on his door. At first, it was small sums, loans of a few tens of thousands of CNY. Yuan paid partly out of caution, partly fear of Wang talking. But greed has no limits. Wang Xing soon showed his hand, blackmail. From 1999, Wang grew bolder. He demanded millions of CNY, threatening to send evidence to central authorities. Yuan tried to buy silence with cash, but the demands escalated. The real blow came when Wang sent a formal complaint to the Ministry of Public Security detailing the Liu Han plot. Though shelved other cases took priority, the file lingered in the system. For Yuan, it was a ticking time bomb, an Achilles heel that could collapse his empire if exposed. Pressure crushed Yuan Baojing. Publicly, he was a celebrated tycoon, winning bids in 1998, marrying Zhuoma in a lavish 2000 wedding, welcoming a son. But behind the polished facade, paranoia gnawed. That fear drove his coldest choice: Wang Xing must die to stay silent. In early 2001, at Jianhao's Beijing headquarters, Yuan summoned Baoqi and Baofu for a secret meeting, offering 300,000 CNY, about 42,000 USD, for a successful hit. Bao Si handed the cash to Bao Fu, a seasoned enforcer who roped in his brother Bao Shen. They studied Wang Xing's routine in Liaoyang, waiting for their moment. Mid-November 2001. Bao Fu and Bao Shen ambushed Wang Xing outside his apartment. As he stepped out, two shadowed figures closed in, striking from behind. Wang shouted, struggling to flee, but Bao Fu stabbed him repeatedly from the front. The chaotic scuffle drew neighbors, forcing the attackers to escape on a motorcycle. Wang Xing survived barely. Multiple stab wounds, one deep in his back, left him permanently scarred. Rushed to the hospital, he lied to police, claiming a robbery attack. A calculated move. He knew he lacked evidence against Yuan Baojing then. But survival fueled his rage. No longer bargaining, Wang Xing waged a war for vengeance. Letters, messages, complaints flooded out. He told friends, "If I don't make it, Yuan Baojing will pay with his life." Wang Xing's survival enraged Yuan Baojing. The failed attack only heightened the risk of exposure. Determined to avoid another mistake, he issued a chilling order: finish him. No survivors this time. The command passed to Baoki, then to Bao Fu. Another $180,000 CNY, about 25,200 USD in June 2025, was provided to tie up loose ends. Bao Fu ditched the knife for a deadlier tool, a sawed-off, double-barreled shotgun loaded with buckshot for maximum damage. The goal: strike fast, leave no chance for struggle or survival. They resumed stalking Wang Xing, learning he spent late nights at a small gambling den on Liaoyang's outskirts. The moment arrived. October 4th, 2003. The night that sparked the tragedy from our story's start was the night Yuan Baojing believed he'd crushed his greatest threat. Since the 2001 attack, Wang Xing lived like a ghost, hiding by day, buried in suburban gambling dens by night. At 9 p.m. that evening, he drove his battered Jiali to Huiying, a familiar mahjong parlor near a Hui community. No one in the smoky room suspected that outside, under dim streetlights and shadowed trees, Bao Fu and Bao Shen lay in wait. Around 11 p.m., Wang Xing stood, stretched, his eyes heavy with sleep. He waved goodbye and stepped into the night, oblivious to danger. Two figures trailed him, shadowing his car for miles, close enough to track, far enough to stay unseen. As his car crawled into the Wusheng housing complex, the clock struck 11:30 p.m. Wang Xing killed the engine, stumbled out, fumbling for his keys. In that fleeting moment, Bao Shen's shotgun, hidden under a loose coat, surged forward like a phantom. As the door creaked open, he raised the weapon from behind. The first shot roared buckshot, tearing through the air, splintering the door. Dozens of pellets ripped into Wang Xing's chest and abdomen. He staggered, but clung to life. Then the second blast thundered through the hallway. Wang Xing collapsed onto the stone steps, blood pooling on the cold floor. The acrid stench of gunpowder mingled with the icy night wind. Bao Fu had the getaway bike running. Bao Shen leaped on, and they vanished into the silent dark. From shot to escape, under 60 seconds. The killers sped to Liaoyang's outskirts, reaching a desolate bridge over the Huocheng River. Beneath a murky moon, Bao Shen hurled the shotgun into the freezing water. Thinking all traces erased, they called, "Baoki, it's done." Baoki relayed the news to Yuan Baojing. In a sealed Beijing office, Yuan Baojing sank into his chair. His taut face softened, a savage relief glinting in his cold eyes. But he never imagined that 7 weeks later, police would storm that same lavish office, cuffing him as the business world gaped. On August 18, 2004, the Liaoyang Intermediate People's Court opened the trial of Yuan Baojing and his 3 accomplices for intentional homicide. It was unprecedented, a top Chinese tycoon facing public criminal charges shaking the nation. Before the trial, Yuan's wife, Zhuo Ma held a tearful Beijing press conference pleading her husband's innocence. She accused Liaoyang police of procedural errors, coerced confessions, and fabricated evidence. The poised university lecturer's claims stirred a media frenzy. Social media buzzed piling pressure on the local judiciary. At 8 a.m., the courtroom brimmed with over 200 spectators. Hallways overflowed, security was iron tight. Yuan Baojing, in a yellow prison jumpsuit, shuffled in chains, clanking. Zhuo Ma screamed, "My love," and collapsed in tears. The other defendants followed. 8 armed guards stood watch. The panel, 3 judges, 3 prosecutors, 6 defense lawyers, reflected the trial's extraordinary scale. From the outset, all 4 defendants recanted their confessions. Yuan Baojing spoke first, voice defiant. "Every signed statement is fake. I was tortured. I know the law, I understand what signing means. But after 5 nights with my hands bound, beaten, threatened with death, I broke." He lifted his pant leg, revealing bruises. This is what the police did. He claimed he signed to save his life, hoping to clear his name in court. Next, Yuan Baojing, who'd admitted to firing the fatal shots, flipped his story. "I didn't pull the trigger. Baofu did. He went alone that night, then told me to take the fall since I'm single and he has a family." Sobbing, he claimed psychological torture with threats against his elderly mother. Baofu stayed silent most of the session, finally muttering, "They put a helmet on my head, banged it, poured boiling water on me. I confessed to end the pain." The courtroom erupted in murmurs. All 4 denying guilt, alleging abuse, painted a murky, scandalous investigation. Faced with this dramatic reversal, prosecutors unleashed damning evidence, focusing on motive and connections. 2 documents stood out: a draft complaint from Wang Xing's home and a copy of his Task Force 405 statement, both naming Yuan Baojing as the one who hired him to kill Liu Han for $140,000 CNY, about 19,600 USD. Liaoyang's testimony presented in court confirmed Wang Xing hired me for the 1997 hit. Yuan Baojing paid. Defense lawyers fired back. Wang Xing held a grudge against Yuan. He could have fabricated it all. Those papers aren't ironclad. Prosecutors pressed on, presenting a 1996 interrogation record where Yuan Baojing described losing 90 million CNY, about 12.6 million USD, due to Liu Han's dirty tricks. Wang Xing had replied, "Let me take him out." The defense countered, "That's a police written record. If confessions were coerced, it's worthless." Prosecutors produced a task force affidavit swearing, "We interrogated during regular hours per protocol." But the defense pointed to a 2 a.m. timestamp on one record. The courtroom gasped, tension electric. For the first time, the investigation's integrity faced public doubt in an iconic trial. The battle raged over 11 hours. At 7:30 p.m. on August 18, 2004, the chief judge halted deliberations, delaying the verdict. Wang Xing's family, his wife, mother, and ex-wife, attended, demanding 4.84 million CNY, about 677,000 USD, for emotional damages, a figure reflecting their raw outrage. On January 13, 2005, the Liaoyang Intermediate People's Court delivered its verdict. Yuan Baojing, Yuan Baoxi, and Yuan Baoshen were sentenced to immediate execution. Yuan Baofu received a death sentence with a 2-year reprieve. The ruling was stark. Their actions constituted intentional homicide of an especially heinous nature. Organized, calculated, driven by base motives like personal revenge and concealing prior crimes. No significant mitigating factors existed. Baofu's reprieve stemmed from his greater cooperation. All 4 defendants immediately appealed to the Liaoyang High Court. Zhuo Ma, Yuan Baojing's wife, hired top Beijing lawyers, scrambling to present alibis. In October 2005, A shocking twist unfolded. Yuan Baojing's execution was halted mere hours before the scheduled time. Set for a firing squad on October 14th, he was spared when the Liaoyang court received an urgent order to pause. Sources revealed Yuan had exposed Li Feng, a Liaoning Provincial Standing Committee member and political legal secretary, for serious misconduct in privatizing Jinlong Company, enabling Li's family to siphon shares. The scandal's weight prompted the procuratorate to suspend execution for further investigation. Zhuoma also offered to surrender 40% of an Indonesian oilfield stake valued at 50 billion CNY, about 7 billion USD, to the state, pleading for leniency. Rumors swirled that Yuan was fixing the case, splitting public opinion. Some still believed he was framed, but all efforts failed. On February 28, 2006, the Liaoning High Court held a public appeal hearing. The panel ruled no new evidence overturned the prosecution's case. Torture claims lacked credibility. Physical evidence and initial confessions held firm. The original verdict stood immediate execution for Yuan Baojing, Yuan Baoqi, and Yuan Baoshen. 2-year reprieve for Baofu. The case went to the Supreme People's Court for review. Though the 2007 reform requiring Supreme Court approval for all death sentences wasn't yet in effect, the case's ties to high officials prompted a thorough review. Yuan's accusations against Li Feng led to a party disciplinary probe, but no criminal charges. Some speculated political forces pushed for Yuan's execution to silence sensitive allegations. Regardless, on March 17, 2006, the Supreme Court approved the death sentences for the 3 Yuan defendants. That morning in Liaoyang Court's Grand Hall, a public sentencing ceremony unfolded, a ritual before executions in China. At 8 a.m., the chief judge upheld the death penalties for Yuan Baojing, Yuan Baoqi, and Yuan Baoshen, stripping them of all civic rights. Police escorted them out. Amid the defendants' families' wails, Wang Xing's widow stood, tears in her eyes, and whispered, "Justice is here." 15 minutes later, the 3 were loaded into a van and driven to Liaoyang's funeral parlor, repurposed for lethal injections. At 8:45 a.m., needles pierced their veins, ending the lives of men once perched atop wealth and power. Zhuoma, barred from witnessing, sobbed uncontrollably in a car upon hearing her husband was gone. Yuan Baojing's body was cremated that day, his ashes handed to Zhuoma, a grim end to a saga born of greed, betrayal, and calculated crime. Yuan Baojing's downfall closed one of China's most shocking criminal cases of the early 21st century. For the first time, a billionaire symbol of the Reform era's wealth was executed for murder. His story stunned society, a celebrated startup legend who funded scholarships and inspired on TV, unmasked as the mastermind of a cold-blooded killing. Yuan's plunge from glory to infamy eroded public faith in the era's rapid-rise tycoons. Articles dubbed it the tragedy of the stock market king, a stark warning. Greed, fused with arrogance and disdain for the law, could destroy even the seemingly invincible. Yet some mourned Yuan Baojing. They saw a man who clawed his way from poverty, toiling relentlessly to change his fate. But with intellect, wealth, and power in hand, he lost his moral compass. He blurred the line between business and violence, reason and crime. How could one man, both a shining beacon and a monstrous villain, be both admired and reviled? What do you think of Yuan Baojing's life? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let's discuss. Before you go, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to catch more gripping cases on true crime in the world.